It's one of the things that I've observed in my experience when we're dealing with in the world of business and commercial salespeople is that when they're trying to give their breathe life into their proposal, i.e. Their presentation, or as I prefer to call it, their story, very often the key message is just lost. The messages, where are they? And I'm just wondering what your experience is of that, and what can we do to avoid getting their messages lost in translation?
Yeah, it is a great question, Gareth, and the answer is complex because there are many things you can do to make sure your messages are clear. But one of the biggest, or one of the best tips I could give around that, though, is to think about the message that's at the top of every visual aid that you create. Now, most people would use a label, so they might say sales Q4 or category X performance or something as benign as that. And it's true because it's actually a label of what's on the visual aid or on the slide, but actually it doesn't tell you anything. So a neat trick is when you've completed your story, assuming that you've taken some of the ideas and some of the tips that we've given in some of our other videos, is label the slides at the end and make sure that it's not a label, but a message. Now, a couple of tips around that would be that that message would be something less than 9 words long, so it's easy and quick to read. But notice 9 words is not 2 words, so therefore it needs to have enough words to have meaning. And then when you've completed that that sequence of titles, just read the titles out to yourself as you're going through and sense checking your presentation or your story, and just see if they link up to tell a story. Because if you've done it well, in effect, the narrative of the titles will be your, let's call it your elevator pitch version of your story. And if it doesn't make sense, or if there's a jar in the flow, or the message isn't really clear, it really is a great way of, if you like, examining what you've created and really pressure testing its validity. And it just makes it so much clearer for you, the reader, when you're telling your story, but also the observer when they're hearing it as well.
Okay, so there's some great tips in there, Alex. So first of all, there's the difference between a label versus a headline. Like a headline just tells you something that's going on, and I'm guessing just read the top of the headlines, almost like rip it off a paper slide, so that if you just read them, you should get a really good understanding of what the story is about. And if you don't, go back and revisit.
Yeah, and it's a real game changer, actually, in really validating the quality of your story. And it's quite a fun thing to do at the end of your creation process, and gives you confidence that the messages that you're getting across are the messages that you want to land.
Okay, great tips. Thank you.